Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I'm Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I will be discussing about the online master's degree programs which have essentially proliferated throughout the world. And nowadays you have a scenario where many top universities around the world are giving these online programs where you can do the master's degree, you can do Master of Science, you can do Master of Arts, you can do research type of masters in some cases, and so on. So there are many advantages of this online mode because you can do it if you are somebody who is working on a job, if you are somebody who is on a career break because of family reasons. You can spend the time doing a master's degree here at an online university. You can do it without trying to get a visa to a foreign country, so that is also possible. And in many cases you can also do it and save money, so there are many advantages of doing such a degree. Now there are some universities which actually give you what are known as bridge master's programs. So if you are coming from a certain field, you can switch to a different field and you can take a number of bridge courses here. So maybe you are coming from any type of STEM field or even a social science field, and you can do a master's degree in something like data science. So this is possible because of many bridge programs out there. You can even do master's degree in computer science, information systems, and many marketable fields. So this is a way to get out of a major which may not be leading you to a good job in the current job market. So I'm going to discuss many different points in this video. I'm going to first discuss some of the points which are beneficial as far as the online master's degree is concerned, and then I'm going to discuss some points which may be somewhat negative. So keep all these points in mind and do see this video till the end to get maximum benefit out of this particular work. So let's start with point number one, and that is to do with university reputation or rank. And this is probably the most important thing as far as the university is concerned. So if you are somebody who has done a BS degree from a certain university, you always want to do a master's degree from a better ranked university or from a university with better reputation in your own field. And what this does is that it propels you to the higher level as far as career is concerned. Now, of course, there are many places out there where you can figure out the university rank. Also, this is something which is contingent on every particular discipline or major. So I would say go with the particular rank as far as your major is concerned. Don't look at the global ranks only. Now, one of the things to look here is that there are many universities which are for profit and some universities which are also non-profit. So in general, what happens is that most of the non-profit type of universities which are run either by the government or by certain foundations, they tend to have a higher rank. So this is something to keep in mind because there are many universities which are offering the online master's degree which are not very well known, and so these universities may not be appropriate for you. So do some research on the university before you commit your money and your time to this particular degree. And one of the things to keep in mind is that the degree should not specifically say that it is an online degree. People should know about this particular university in general. So what will happen is that at the end of this degree, you can certainly say that you have done your Master of Science degree in a certain area from University of X, and this university is well known. So you do not need to say that it is an online degree. That is something which is very important. Now, in most cases, the master's degrees which are given online, they tend to be course-based masters. So you are going to take a lot of courses. Maybe you can do an internship sometime. But in most cases, there is no research component here. So you can keep that in mind that do you really have any research component? In that case, will you have a research supervisor to guide your work? Do you have to write a thesis and so on? Because in some cases, those things do entail the need of a real professor who sits with you and guides you in your research. So that brings me to point number two, is how do they exactly give this particular master's degree online? Now, we have to look at the teaching methods involved. So what is typically done is that there are pre-recorded lectures out there. So in any given course, there will be a set of lectures just like a professor gives in the class, but this lecture has been recorded. So similar to what you see in the YouTube video, but maybe of a different nature. It may be more rigorous in most cases, and there is going to be a lot of textbook type of material, lot of equations, lot of case studies which are going to be presented here by the professor. So for most of the semester, you are actually never going to see this professor, but you are going to see somebody who is known as an instructor, or this person may be a facilitator for the course. So this person is also typically a PhD person or a master's person. he may be somebody who has practical expertise in this area, and this person essentially conducts the class. So if there are any questions you have, there is a time every week when you can meet this person and you can discuss some of these questions. So this is actually your human contact. Very often the professor has taped this lecture. He may come only once or twice during the entire course and just meet the class. So that's a certain chance where you have to discuss questions with him or her. Now in most cases they are going to give you homeworks every week. They are going to give you some projects and you have to do them. And there are going to be certain graders who are going to grade these projects and homework. So these graders typically tend to be graduate students in the university. So they are typically master's degree student or PhD students who will grade your work, and then all this process can of course be done online. There are various softwares which have come up which allow you to do all these things online. So that plays a very important part in this particular degree process. Now one of the important things here is that always make sure that you go to these lectures which are held every week where you get to meet a person. So essentially this instructor is going to host some time, and during this time you should go there and present all your doubts. You should make sure that you know the remaining people who are taking part in the class and so on, because sometimes what happens is that these particular briefings are recorded. You can look at them later, but if you do not take active part in them, then slowly you may fall through the cracks in the system as far as this course is concerned. Now let's come to point number 3, which has to do with the cost. And in many cases, unfortunately, the tuition of these programs is not very different or maybe the same as a regular program. So you need to check for this. In case the tuition is lower, it is certainly something which is very advantageous. Even if it is the same, I would say that you will save a lot of money because you are not going to the university, you are not staying there, you are not somebody who has to pay for the dorm, for the rooms which you rent, for the food and so on. And so that will amount to a huge saving as far as the costs are concerned. Also make sure about the tuition structure of the university. So some universities have in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition, particularly in the US. And so what happens here is that if you are somebody who is not from the state, you may have to pay a different tuition. But what has happened is that many online degrees, they actually charge you the same tuition. So this is something which is spreading more and more, and this is something which is very beneficial to students around the world and around any particular country. So maybe you are in different parts of the US, you aspire to get a certain degree from a certain top university, and you can get this at regular rates even if you are not a resident of that particular state, in case you are going for a state university. So take a look at this particular fact. Now we come to point number 4, which has to do with whether you are interested in industry or PhD. And this, I would say, is more about whether you are interested in courses or research. Now, if you are somebody who is interested in coursework, I would say the master's degree, which is online, is a very good particular thing. And what you can do is that at the end of this degree, you can easily get a job. But if you are somebody who wants to do research, who wants to continue on the PhD, it's probably better to go to an actual university and get the experience there, because in that case, you would have a professor to supervise your work, and a lot of this training, especially as far as research is concerned, takes place on a one-on-one basis. So this is certainly somewhat like an apprenticeship where you have to work with the researcher, and by observing this researcher, you figure out how to do research. So do remember, research involves many things such as literature surveys, such as experiments, such as simulations. And all these you essentially learn from a supervisor, from senior PhD students, from postdoctoral researchers in the department, and so on. Now let's come to point number 5, which has to do with the major and the department. Now this also plays a very important role in the online master's degree, because remember that certain majors are very amenable to the online forum. So for example, anything which is computer science, data science, is going to be very simple to give, or rather relatively simple to give in the online forum. And you can essentially do programming projects, you can submit them. There are ways to actually check these by systems which are out there, and it's all very straightforward. What happens is that if you are in some major which has a lot to do with experiments, maybe you're in chemistry, maybe you're in mechanical fields, maybe you are in any of the fields such as physics or so on, you actually need a lab. In those cases, the online major may be somewhat problematic. So some of the popular online majors which are out there are management, information system, psychology, education, and so on. And you will of course see all these majors are those where a lot of the information can be communicated through lectures, through videos, and through projects which you do. So this is something you need to study in some detail before you commit to a particular major. Now that brings me to point number 6, which is how do you develop a good network? Now most of you know that one of the reasons you go to many universities is that you establish a lot of friends there, you know the different professors, and so these people become your friends for the rest of your life. And this is also the part of the so-called old boys club or the old girls club, as the case may be, who keep helping you in your career growth. Now one of the things you need to do in an online system is that you need to make sure you at least get to know some of these people. And again, I mentioned one of the strategies is to go to all those meetings which are held every week with the instructor, and make sure you connect with some of the other students in the class through LinkedIn, and maybe you can even talk to them sometime on some mediums such as WhatsApp, FaceTime, Zoom, Messenger, or any of the mediums, so that you do build a kind of network out there. This is something which is very important, especially if you are somebody who is going into the management or leadership side of the equations. The networks are often the most important things you gain from university. In fact, many people spend a lot of money going to the Ivy League universities so that they can build a network of some of the top people around the world. So this helps them down the road. Now point number 7 has to do with that there are certain people who have special needs, and in that kind of situation the online degree can come as a boon. So I know there are some people who have certain disabilities as far as learning is concerned, and these people are able to benefit enormously from an online program because they get somewhat perturbed by the actual program in the university. They do not like to interact with too many people, and so that is something which is beneficial. Also, if you are somebody who lands up in a very hot or a very cold university, maybe you are in Canada in winter, maybe you are in Phoenix in summer, then you are going to find things to be very cold and hot respectively. And if you are in an online setting, maybe you can do your degree sitting in some nice place like San Diego or somewhere else, maybe in Bangalore, and then you can take advantage of this particular system that you do not have to go to very cold and hot places. So you can do a degree from university in Finland while you are sitting on the beach in Spain. So these are some things which are possible. Now this brings me to point number 9, which has to do with somewhat negative aspects. Now here I'm going to talk about admissions and scholarship. So what happens is that in some cases the admission level or requirement to the online program may be relaxed. Now this is beneficial to many people because some of you can finish your master's degree here in this less draconian program, but many of the exams which used to be there, such as GRE, such as GMAT, and even TOEFL for foreign students, one of the reasons they were put is that there was a certain minimum level which was there for all the students concerned. So do keep in mind that while many universities have removed these exams, it may be also that your degree may be considered less valuable over time if these exams have been removed. So do some research, find out about the admission procedures as far as the different students are concerned, whether the regular students have a different admission procedure from the online students and so on, because that is going to help you to compare these things. Because do remember that over the long run, these things also get found out by the people who give jobs, by the employers, and by the different parts of the community. So they will of course figure out about how good or bad the students are. The first batch may not have many problems, but later batches may have problems as people figure out that these guys are simply not good as the real guys who are coming from the actual brick and mortar system. So you don't want this to happen. So make sure the admission requirements to the university are the same, whether it is an online degree or whether it is an offline degree. Now the other point I mentioned was scholarships, and scholarships are something which are again much simpler to obtain if you actually apply to many university. So I've made many videos on scholarships out there, such as the DAAD program and so on, even the Fulbright. So in many cases you can do master's degrees under money given by various foundations. Many professors also have research projects through which they can give you money to do your master's degree. So do keep that in mind, that scholarships may be something which are easier to get if you actually go and stay at the university, and you may then become a grader. You may be somebody who helps in research, somebody who helps in teaching, and that will certainly help the particular situation out there. Now, the last thing, which is probably the most important thing, has to do with jobs at the end of the degree. Now, this is something which you will have to find out through personal research. I have, of course, seen many online master's degree guys getting very good jobs in some of the top companies. Some guys have even been employed in the Silicon Valley companies and so on, especially people who have done various degrees in computer science, data science, and machine learning type of disciplines, even statistics. They have been able to get into various universities, and even people who have boosted their career by doing a master's degree in fields such as information systems or even an MBA degree, they have been able to make a huge jump in their salary and in terms of their rank as far as the particular place they are working in concerned. Now, of course, many people who are doing these degrees tend to be somebody who is already employed in the job. So this is a huge advantage because they are much more motivated, they are much more mature, they know how to use the particular degree. So that is something which is very important to keep in mind, that you should have some level of maturity. You should not be somebody who requires too much spoon feeding, because that's something you are not going to be able to get in an online degree. If you are somebody who requires spoon feeding from a professor, who requires regular mentoring, then probably a one-on-one master's degree is the best to get, and you should actually go to a brick and mortar university and do your degree there. So this was my take on the online master's degree. It can save you tens of thousands of dollars in many cases. It can let you work while you are doing a job. It can let you work during a career break, for example, for many women. And also it can let you get a degree from various foreign countries around the world without leaving your home country and without missing your mother's cooked food, in case that is important for you.